been here a couple of times. Thanks for having me again. Yeah, my name is Chris Huntingford. I work for a company called Avanade. I'm their global Power Platform lead or Power Apps lead. And I'm going through, very much like Madonna and Britney Spears did at some points, I'm going through a rebrand personally. So yeah, I've got this whole platform guy thing going. I haven't got a website yet, and at the moment it's under construction, which means I haven't started it. So there we go, rock and roll. And yeah, the accent is South African. So I'm in the UK, but I'm a proud South African rugby team supporter, and I'm sorry about the rugby. No, I'm not. Anyway, enough of the jibber jabber. Let's get cracking, my friends. So again, I'd really love to try this out. Now, this is one of my favorite things to do with with the Power Platform and the Microsoft technology suite is to kind of do things live. 99% of the time, it is a massive risk and things break. So yeah, there's a very good chance stuff isn't going to go well this presentation. But you know what? Part and parcel of the whole thing is seeing stuff break and seeing stuff fall apart, and that's the fun part, right? So I don't get red-faced when I get errors. I just try and make up a story as I go. So yeah, let's do it, right? I've got some good results coming in on the form, by the way. So thank you, folks. So first of all, I just want to talk to you a little bit about low code, no code. Now, before I do that, don't worry, there's no naming and shaming. You're all good in the hood. I'm gonna quickly just sneak this little screen across. Yoshi, would you give me a quick thumbs up if you can see that? Fantastic. All right, so based on what we've got right now, as I said, I'm a Power Platform nerd. I'm also a Lego nerd. I've got the whole concept of being a maker. And the questions are asked were, number one, what do you know about Microsoft's Power Platform? Well, most people have heard some stuff, right? So what do we have? We've got heard some stuff, but I wouldn't use it yet in my world domination plans. Totally cool, right? We've got some legends on the call. So those of you that are legends, feel free to correct me in the chats. I don't always get it right. The third one, I've heard of it, but much like the Yeti, vampires, carnivorous were ducks, I haven't seen it. And what is the Power Platform? Can I eat it or fight it? Okay, so we've only got two people there. So a lot of you have heard about this thing. The second thing is, what Microsoft products are you working with? Okay, cool. So Azure, anything and everything. Awesome. Okay, we've got some Microsoft 365 people here. That's also fantastic. We got Dynamics 365 people. That's even better. Than someone here thinks Excel is a database. We've got a problem, my friends. We need to talk. And then finally, don't you hate it when people include stupid questions in surveys? Yeah, I think it's a pain. Somebody said no. Look at that, respect. And then somebody answered option 4 to number 3. So yeah, there's a discrepancy in the values there. This is why I don't trust forms from a data perspective. We've got to use Power BI. Okay. But anyway, thanks for letting me know, right? That I'm pretty psyched up that some of you have heard about the Power Platform. I don't know, man, I might destroy all your opinions tonight, or I might make them. We'll see. But yeah, let's do this thing. And I'm a fidgeter, by the way, so yeah, I have to play with something when I talk. Anywho, let's cruise back to this whole thing. So the Power Platform, right? Before the Power Platform, there's been some things that have been happening in the world, okay? And effectively, when you look under the hood around this thing called low code, no code, right? So a lot of people have heard about it. Again, it's quite mysterious. It's like saying digital transformation in movie voice. And everyone's like, what on earth is that? Like, digital transformation, that's about as clear as mud. What is low code, no code? Does that mean that, like, we just don't code, or we can code, or we should code? Like, what's the score here? Anyway, I'm going to clear it up. Okay. So low code, no code, the concept of this has actually been around for a very long time. Now, you have to forgive me, folks, because I am a developer, or used to be. I'm better now. And ultimately, the whole process around low code, no code was that there was a shortage of developers. So in the classic term of a thing they were calling the great developer shortage, right? Really, that's like a real thing. You got that whole mysterious music in the background and everyone talking about the great developer shortage, and everyone panicked. So they came up with this concept called low code, no code. And the whole idea behind this was to give people who couldn't code the ability to build really cool stuff really quickly. Now, that's pretty awesome, right? Because, at the time when I was a developer, I'm like, in the South Park kind of tone, they're going to take our jobs. It's not really what's happening, but it's more opportunity. But anyway, so we got these tools that were given to us, and Microsoft jumps on the bandwagon. And actually, they realized that the demand for mobile applications was growing 5 times faster than any IT organization could deliver. The second thing, and this was said some time back, is that by roughly 2024, low-code application dev, or solution dev, as I like to call it, would account for roughly 65% of solutions created. That's bananas, right? Absolutely bonkers. And then also in the next 5 years, 500 million new apps would be built. That's a lot, right? So all of us on this call, we got together and we were like, okay, folks, what we're going to do is we're going to go and get a dark room. We're going to light it up with UV light like real developers do. We're going to work in dark mode, okay? Put everything in dark mode. We're going to get pizza and we're going to live on soda and we're going to code and we're going to write apps. Okay, not necessarily, okay. I think the stigmas have changed since then, right? But the whole idea is that's what's going to happen. It's not going to a dark room and writing code, but lots of solutions are going to be developed in the next few years. So what are the challenges that organizations face with regards to this concept of digital transformation? Now, I saw a number of people on the call respond with construction. I've done some work in construction for some companies I won't name on the call, but things, like snag apps and all sorts of wonderful things like that, and sales processes and building out those pre-built house structures and giving them names and allowing people to sell them on, and asset lists and wonderful things, right? But here's the thing. The challenges faced by every organization in the world are really similar, actually. And the first one is budget constraints. Not every organization it makes billions and billions, right? Sadly, that's the thing. Money is a key factor. The second thing is that time and resource always comes into play. So when you look at the type of people in these organizations that could build these solutions, most of the time, they just don't have the time and actually they don't sometimes have the capability. And then this thing grows, right? There's so many other reasons. My favorite one was I walked into a home builder some time back when I first got to the UK. And I walked into their contact center and they were sticking Post-its on each other's screens, their laptop screens. I remember seeing all these different colors, namely pink and yellow. And I was like, why are you doing that? And they said, well, nobody responds to email in this place, so we alert each other with Post-its. Couldn't believe it. Sorry, I'm turning off my heater. I couldn't believe it. It was absolutely bonkers. And all these people with these complex business processes and things that are really difficult to kind of fulfill. Not all the, sometimes software doesn't really solve the problem. And it goes on and on. My favorite one is shadow IT. A lot of people think that when I say shadow IT, I'm talking about like ninjas in the shadows. But I'm not. I'm actually talking about solutions or applications that have been downloaded from the deep dark web, okay, maybe not that much, by the business to do stuff, okay? And IT has no idea what these solutions do. And then when Karen from accounts phones up IT and she's like, hey, listen, my CRMV 8.962 construction build is broken. Can you fix it? And the IT person on the other end of the phone is going, what are you talking about? That is shadow IT. And there's so many other things that go wrong in businesses. So a couple of things Microsoft realized is they said, cool, we know we need to go faster. We've got to deliver solutions faster. I remember working in organizations a couple of years ago, and I always felt like sometimes they were the same as dealing with my children and chocolate. Okay. Some of you on the call are like, oh, treading the fine line there, my friend. Maybe not. We'll see. And they want it now, and it's immediate, and it needs to be done. But, sometimes it's just, there's a process to getting that. There's a process to doing something. And if you have the chocolate right now, it's not going to be as great as if you maybe wait a few hours and once it's been cooled down and, really molded correctly. And that's the thing, right? So we do know we need to go faster, but we need to be smart about the concept of fast. The second thing is that, don't know if any of you have ever been to those awesome shows where Microsoft get on stage or Salesforce get on stage or whoever, and somebody in a lovely tie or a lovely dress stands up and they go, data is digital gold. It's the most amazing thing. And we were taught to collect data for so many years, but no one ever told us what to do with that data. Not once. Well, only a couple of times did people actually stand up and say, here are the things that you can gain by using all of that data. There's actually a stat. They say like 84.5% of stats are made up on the spot. Well, this stat is actually 35% of data is actually used correctly in organizations. Crazy, right? That it does exist somewhere, by the way. Just I'm doing the memory recall thing. So what do organizations do to solve these problems? They go, sweet, you know what we're going to do? What we're going to do is we're going to have a meeting. So everyone comes into a meeting room and they have a meeting. And guess what happens after that? They decide to have another meeting. What? Awesome. And they have a few meetings about meetings, and then, things that should have been emails turn into more meetings. And then ultimately everyone decides, you know what we're going to do? We're going to replace our software. We're going to replace our software with another piece of software. Wow. Is that the right thing to do? I don't know. I mean, maybe. So they go off to the software shop, their carry bags. Hopefully you're using a recyclable one. And off they go. They take all the software and they put it in their bag, and they come back and they install all the software. And everything's awesome, right? Except for the fact that every other part of the business has done the exact same thing. Oh, dear, said Piglet to Pooh. So now what? We're going to have more meetings about integration and more meetings about this, and everyone's going to be paying money. Okay. So there are other parts of the business who think they're way smarter than the people that go and put the software in the bag and buy it. So they go and hire somebody, I don't know, let's call her Jess, right? And they hire Jess, and Jess builds them this really cool solution with custom code. Phenomenal. And this custom code thing works super well. But very much like Captain Marvel, Jess gets summoned to fight crime on another planet. Uh-oh. Jess is gone. Who knows how to look after this? Look at this whole pile of pre-built digital bricks that we have no idea how to connect together. And Jess is fighting crime. Half the Avengers have disappeared. What do we do now? Okay, well, let's hire Gary, and Gary charges $5,000 a day, right? That's fine. Custom code is actually not the worst thing in the world. I quite like it. But for everything else, there is a concept of what we call these kind of pre-built digital bricks that you can use. Okay, so think about it like you're filling the digital gap. I've heard the term app gap thrown around here and there, but you can actually use tools that you already have in your Microsoft 365 stack to solve a lot of these problems without having to go and buy stuff and reintegrate stuff. Sounds pretty exciting, right? So what if I told you, and I'm going to prove it to you, I can build you an app in under a minute. I can automate stuff very quickly without having to do very much work. And it's all built in the Microsoft stack, and they manage that stack. The way I like to explain it to people is, okay, I'm a Lego nerd. I love Lego. Okay, my kids love Lego. Sorry, wait, let me rephrase that. My kids like making a mess. I like Lego. Sorry, let me reframe that. Complex interlocking brick systems. There we go, right? That's how I frame it to my wife. So when she says, what are you buying on eBay? A complex interlocking brick system. Yeah. Anywho, so here's the thing, right? Think of the tools in the Power Platform like digital building bricks. It's kind of like Lego, and you can build anything you'd like. You can snap them together, but you're working within the framework that Microsoft give you. So you can do some pretty amazing things. Okay. However, if you can't find one of those digital building bricks, and you can't find one of those things that already exists in the platform, guess what? You've got our friends that know how to build and write custom development to build you one of those bricks, a reusable container or reusable component that is leveraged again and again in your business to make sure that you're actually creating stuff that is reusable. You're creating mini microservices. Okay. So every time somebody builds a control or builds a component, Karen from accounts who knows how to build really cool apps can use this thing, or Todd from customer service. I'm probably terrifying you because now I'm talking about a thing called citizen developments, right? People in these business areas that can do this stuff. I don't want to scare you, but when you see what some people do with Excel, and I'm pretty sure some of you have seen what some people do with Excel, you'll be horrified. There was a certain, I don't want to name the business, but there was a certain organization who do some health stuff in the UK, and they lost a number of records for a certain pandemic that was going around because they stored their data in a spreadsheet and didn't lock it up. Uh-oh. Well, sure, that's fine worthy. Not sure. I don't know. I mean, you guys tell me, right? Also seen some interesting stuff about, oh, that's what happens when you say pandemic, you cough. Um, Also seen some interesting stuff about people storing things like payroll data in SharePoint lists. Good fun, right? That's obviously very secure. Maybe, I don't know. Anywho, so when you look at what Microsoft want to do here, Microsoft have a goal. Right now, you're probably going, yes, Chris, more marketing material. Show us. No, I know you're not. You want to see the nerdy stuff. Don't worry, I'm getting there. It's like the preview. So Microsoft say, our mission is to empower every organization, and Anthony, you absolute legend. And they did not realize Excel could only hold 1,000,000 rows of data. I'm not touching it, man. You can take that one, my friend. So their goal is to empower every person in every organization on the planet to achieve more. Okay, so how do they do that, right? How do they achieve more? Well, the only way to do that is to give people time. A lot of people say, hey, just give me money and I'll achieve more. No, 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 no. That's not going to achieve more. Sure, it'll get you there, but time is the thing that gives you more. Okay. And that's the whole concept here. It's to allow people the ability to build faster, more accurately with something that's useful, rather than just spending millions and millions and millions on a solution you're never going to use. No one's ever done that, right? Nobody's ever spent millions of dollars or pounds on a solution they don't use. There's an acronym I was going to put in there about another software product, but I'll hold my tongue. Anywho, so the whole idea is that to give people time back. Right, so how do they do that? What is this magic elixir? What is the gummy berry juice of technology to do this? Well, my friends, it is the Power Platform. Now, you probably didn't expect 7 logos on a slide with some text. That's not quite that. There's some cool stuff. One of those logos looks like a ceiling fan at the bottom right. Yeah. So the whole way this whole thing works, right, and it's the easiest way I can break it down to you is this. The Power Platform consists of 2 layers, right? It's like, it's actually very straightforward. The top layer is what you call the interaction layer, right? That's the thing users see. That's the thing that people will see when they're interacting with data. The bottom layer is the data layer. And the data layer is the most important part, right? Because without data, what does a report look like? Not great, right? Without data, what does an automation do? Oh, I could get it to tie my shoes if I was smart enough, but that's about it. So there's a whole thing here around the way in which things are structured. So the data layer is the most important. However, the interaction layer is very key. So the question I'll ask, if any of you have ever walked into or phoned up a contact center, you call up the contact center and you're like, hey, what's up? And the contact center dude goes, hey, man, I'm Todd. What's up? And Todd says, you say, hey, Todd, I'm calling about a claim that I'd like to log, or I'm calling about a snag in my building that I'd like to log. And Todd says, sweet, give me a second. And Todd opens up SQL Explorer and he goes into table name B458 snag underscore T. And he says, cool, just give me a second. I'm going to write a SQL query. And what I'm going to do is then I'm going to write some code. And I'm going to connect your record to another record. Yeah. And once I've done that, I will know who you are and I will know how to log your snag. And for the next 75 minutes, you spend the time on the call with Todd troubleshooting his query. Anyway, by the time 80 minutes is gone, Todd's figured out who you are and he's run you through the manual ID&V process by editing your data manually. And after that happens, Todd then says, hey, Karen, can you come here and work at my computer because I don't want to send you this whole query. Has that ever happened? Hopefully not. If it does happen to you, give me a shout. Yeah. And Catalan said it perfectly. While Todd has literally gone against every GDPR rule possibly. Sam, but you and I need to talk, bro. Todd is not a... I know why you like Todd. Anywho, so once that's happened, right, everything's broken. So what we do is we put an interaction layer on top. That interaction layer is a mechanism to interact with data in the right way. It contains some of the processes, some of the visual mechanisms, some of the data validation rules. Those things in that layer, right, effectively act as a protective mechanism and give users a way to interact with data correctly. So how does it all work, right? Well, it's actually pretty cool. So the way Microsoft broke this down is they say the 4 tools you have are Power BI, which most of you have probably heard of or used. I get into trouble all the time for calling it yellow Excel. Anyway, so yellow Excel acts as your analytics layer, okay? And that really allows you to visualize data in a really great way, interact with that data without having to go into those tabular layers and see data for what it is. You have Power Apps, the act layer, the app layer. It gives you a mechanism to interact with data and put data in and get data out in a controlled way, all right? Power Apps is probably the second most popular. Yellow Excel is the most popular, Power BI, but Power Apps is the second most popular, right? And a lot of people use Power Apps to do different things. You have Power Automate. Power Automate kind of runs behind the scenes to an extent. It's a bit like the wind, right? So when you think about Power Automate, think about Power Automate as this process automation tool that lives in the background that makes your lives easier. You don't see the wind, you can see the results of the wind. And that's how Power Automate works, okay? It's pretty cool because Power Automate is one of the primary supplementing tools for Power Apps. Let me tell you why. What is the best user interface in the world? No user interface. You know why I know that? When Sony released their first ever MP3 player, it had about 65 buttons on it, did everything but give your cat a massage, right? A certain brand I shall not name released their MP3 player with one little disc thing, a back, forward, and pause play button. They sold billions, right? The more automation you have controlling things in the background, I love the comments, by the way. The more automation you have in the background, the less you have to do in the top layer. A form with 100 fields that does 100 things is not as effective as a form with 5 fields that does 100 things. What? I'm full of wisdom tonight. What? No, I'm kidding. Anywho, then you got Power Virtual Agents. I still think Microsoft should have called this Power Bots, like in the Transformers, but I guess that was taken by someone. Anyway, so Power Virtual Agents, Power Bots in my brain, are effectively that interaction layer with data that you don't use an app for. So think about the 1 billion people with a mismatched interaction with society, like somebody that's holding a child and a coffee and needs to do something on a phone. It's not always going to be an app. Or somebody that doesn't have the ability to use their hands, right? Very, very different story when you're starting to think about how people work with data. That's cool, right? So you got your interaction layer. You're going to all be peddling this interaction layer really quickly and very soon, I promise you. The bottom layer is really key because that feeds the interaction layer, right? So you got your connectors. Microsoft have built 600 plus connectors that sniggle out to all these data sources. Yes, sniggle is a technical term from here on out, right? And it automatically connects out to these data storage structures, things like Salesforce, Dynamics, SQL, Oracle, SAP, Dataverse, SharePoint, whatever you'd like, right? It connects up to those things and it siphons data in between the interaction layer and those services through an API that's governed and managed, of course. And if you can't find a pre-built connector, you can create one yourself. So you can actually build a custom connector that rigs up to that API and exposes that data and respects the API and the security as well. Pretty cool, right? That is the key and crux of the platform. That is the most important thing you need to know is those connectors are the mechanism in which the platform runs. You then have AI Builder. AI Builder is quite cool. So Microsoft have infused everything they can find with artificial intelligence. So those of you playing Candy Crush or on Tinder right now, congratulations, you're using AI. It's everywhere, right? It's even on my weird little timer that I'm using to time my session. But the most important thing is that AI is infused, and I'll give you a quick peek into what that looks like. I think Dataverse, a cloud-based relational data storage facility. No, it's not Access on steroids. Stop it. And the cool thing about Dataverse, right, is if you need a database that's secure, that's governed, compliant, got all the really great referential integrity rules, got indexing, it automatically does relational links between tables for you. Holy smoke, sounds amazing. It's here. It's expensive, but it's here. Okay. And that's where you get this. So coupling all these things together is a really great way of delivering something epic. Sam's right. It's a SQL on steroids. SQL's one of the underneath components of Dataverse. Right. So believe it or not, you answered all my questions in the little form thing I sent out. But guess what? All of these things that you see on that screen before come from this world here. Power BI comes from M365, Yellow Excel. Power Apps comes from SharePoint and Dynamics. Dataverse comes from Dynamics. Power Automate Cloud Flows come from Logic Apps, right? Power Virtual Agent comes from the bot framework. It's all stuff you know. It's just surfaced in a more palatable way that's much quicker to build on, all right? And that's the cool part. So these little digital bricks are all part of the tech you know and love. So let's do something cool, right? Let's go and chat around. So let's go and do a little demo. Let's go and break some stuff, right? Like I'm all up for breaking things. Okay. So first of all, I don't know if any of you actually put in your real email address into that form, but if you did, give a thumbs up because you probably got the world's most ridiculous email ever. All right. But yeah, so we're going to go into the tech and I'm going to show you some of the cool things behind the scenes and how they all fit together. So what we'll do is quickly just chat around some of the apps you can build. You can build, sorry, solutions you can build. You can build pretty much anything, right? Everything from a simple business solution, like a Kudos app or a little flow, to a mission critical solution that runs your contact center. You can build this stuff in Power Platform. Somebody will say to me, but Chris, how do you do it? Well, there's loads of ways, right? Every single solution is architected very differently. So won't get into an architectural debate now. I'm pretty certain I'm pretty certain some of the folks in the chat, like Sam and Catalin, I know Catalin will definitely get into a chat with you about it. But yeah, definitely start looking out. Definitely start looking out at the different types of solutions you can build. However, now, now for a little bit of a demo. So the typical demo pathway, and don't worry, you don't have to fill this in. I'm just giving you an example of how we do this, right? So a typical demo pathway, what we do is we'll take you on a quick story right now. What will normally happen is I'll get a set of requirements from somebody around building an app or a solution, as I like to call them. We don't talk about just apps. It's never just an app. And I'll show you some of the cool things about, managing data, using the automations, using Power BI, and even some of the use cases that I've got under the hood around some of the things we've done. All right. So typical demo process, right? So typically what will happen is you may fill in a form. If you really want to fill this in, go ahead. It's not going to be as exciting as the first one. But what will happen is that you will effectively give me a bunch of data. And I will actually be able to take that data through a journey from capturing all the way through to analytics. And that's the cool part about the platform, is you're giving me the ability to do that. I'm also going to build you an app in under a minute, and I'm happy to take bets on whether I can do it or not. So let's get cracking. So first things first, you can see over here that I've got those results. Now I just want to show you something. I'm a little bit naughty. Let's go to what am I looking for? Here's my survey results. I actually stored a bunch of the information in SharePoint. I'm going to go very quickly so you can't see whose email addresses they are. But yeah, there we go, right? So that's all the data you guys shared with me. Thank you very much. Here's all my info at the very top, right? So that's all the stuff you shared with me. You gave that to me in a form, by the way. So just check what you're filling in first. Don't blindly just fill it in, or do. It's up to you. Anywho, by the way, I've got a timing thing. Don't worry. And Anthony, as soon as I start, I'll tell you when to start timing. But anyway, so let's look at a couple of use cases, right? So you can see over here on the left-hand side, I've done a fair amount of these things, okay? And what's cool is that with all these different use cases, you can kind of build out certain structures and certain things that will help you, manage solutions or scenarios within the platform. Now, as you can see, I'm getting some approvals through. That's quite terrible, purely because of the fact that, any single time I capture something in the background happens. What's awesome though is that I just shared that link with you guys, and ultimately that little form that I put in there, ultimately what will end up happening is that little form I stuck in, right, you would have filled in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a quick scenario, and this is called the party van hire. Oh yeah, we're going to hire a party van. It's the end of Rona, face masks are off. We're going to hire a van and we're going to do some crazy stuff. We're going to have pizzas and beers and all sorts of weird things, right? So let's put in my email address. If you want to send me flowers or delicious things, you can use this. Obviously, virtual ones. And the rental date for the van, I definitely think I'm going to pick that van up probably tomorrow. I'm pretty stoked with that. My code is, I love the fact that I've got AF at the end of my code. It cracks me up. I'm going to make it those of you that know me know me better than that. Let's go for a beer van at a game of rugby, obviously, yeah. And the number of people is, hey, folks, Rona's done. There's no more rule of 6, so we're going to make it 60. And we need... Cool. We need beer fast come to us. So I'm going to go ahead and submit that request. Now, I'm an end user. You guys could have filled that form in as well, but I figured I'll just do it from a demo perspective to show you. So all good, all good. My request is probably floating around in the floaty sphere somewhere. And what's awesome is that I'll actually get told via email, you can see over here, that somebody's requested a beer van. Pretty awesome, okay? So I'm pretty psyched about that. You know, somebody's gone and used my business. They've requested a beer van. By the way, if you send me your real address in that link, you'll get some quality information somewhere, something that looks like this. Anywho, so there's my beer van request. I'm pretty psyched about that, right? Okay, cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to go take a look at the requests that have been logged. And I'm going to go ahead and sort by title, A to Z. Okay, here's all the new requests. So you can see there's Sam captured one. Thanks, buddy. I know you love a good beer van, my friend. So there's Sam's request over there. Cool, so I've got Sam's information. Oh yeah, I had it before. I'm just throwing it out there. Anyway, Sam, don't log a subject access request. But however, if I do get fined 4% of my revenue, it's probably all of $10. So we're all good. Anywho, so I've got this data captured in a database. So all Sam's done is given me data via a form. I've used Power Automate to put that data in a data storage facility. From there, we can do some pretty cool stuff, right? So actually, well, let's go and take a look at it from a Power BI perspective. If I take a look at Yellow Excel, you can see that a number of requests have been logged. This is Power BI, and it gives me a really great way to analyze and understand data. So let's have a look, right? You can see that I've had a lot of requests, mostly, wow, look at that, mostly beer vans. It's definitely me logging these requests, okay? You can see it breaks it down by the various channels, so most of them via web forms. You can see a couple of them by phones, and then a couple of them by email. I can also gauge the number of requests, and this is a Power BI I just knocked together fairly quickly to help me understand, you know, what was going on in my business. Mostly UKI, which is pretty good. So I can break it down if I go and have a look at, let's see, just a van. Who wants to rent just a van? Holy smokes. Somebody wants to rent just a van, but they didn't specify alcoholic beverages. You got to do that with me, friends. That's got to be something that happens. Okay, cool. So you can see I've got some really good info around how this whole thing fits together. I've got some nice information about my van. Slushy van, you can kind of break it down again. Lots of vegetarians attend slushy festivals. Good, good, good. Cool. So let's go dig into some AI, right? So the AI functionality in Power BI, this is automatically going to scan that Power BI data set and give me what you call key indicators. So if I say everyone that requests a pudding van often has peanut allergies, that's a problem. Why are peanut allergy people requesting puddings all the time? Something special about the puddings. I don't know. Let's move on. Oh, there we go. Boerewors, rolls, and biltong. The Sappers on the call will understand that. South Africans. So let's go and check out a beer van. That's it, my friend. Biltong's always mentioned. So the beer van, who's requesting? Wow. So every time multiple people request a van, it's mostly a beer van. And wow. Also, if we could get a chocolate fountain. So there's a lot of beer and chocolate fountain parties going on here. I really have no clue what's happening. I mean, this is a really weird scenario. Beer and chocolate fountains. Okay. I don't want to know what that party's about. Anyway, so you can see that you can use the AI builder functionality directly in this. And what's really cool is that it's very easy for me to build this type of report. And I'm not going to show you in this session. I'll show you in another one later at some point. But this stuff is all out of the box. I've not written a single line of code to do any of this. That's all good and well. I can even integrate this with my scheduling tool. So if I had a scheduling tool like Dynamics or Salesforce or Oracle or whatever does scheduling, I can actually schedule my work orders. I can actually capture that information, make it visible directly in my scheduling tool, and then schedule those work orders and drop the van in at the right spot, right? So it's kind of cool to see that this stuff all works together. On this version, I don't know if it'll open in here. Let's give it a try. Nope. Yeah, I did break that at some point. There's normally a scheduling board that pops up here. I reckon if I opened it in the web, it would be cool. Anyway, that's what happens, right? So I can actually move my information between my systems. A couple of other things, right? Before I show you something magical, is that under the hood, I just want to show you one thing real quick, is that it's not porcupines. When things get captured, so whenever people capture those records, you can actually see in Power Automate, this is the automation engine running in the background, right? You can actually see what happens. So I can pop into a record that was captured over here. You can see my flow ran successfully. I've only got 3 steps, and it actually tells me what was captured. Okay. Thanks, Gino. You're an absolute legend. Your van will be with you shortly, my friend. And there we go. Fantastic, right? Burger van, cool. So this actually tracks the information, and it's very easy to build a flow itself, right? So very simply, if I wanted to create a new automation, I can go ahead and say new and I'm going to put in the form. So, you guys captured on that form. Let's say van, request the van suite, and you're using the different connectors. So all of these connectors are made visible in this tool. So if I take a look and I say, if I wanted to connect to SAP, oops, when I learned to spell, I can use the SAP connector, DocuSign, I'm learn to spell again, docu, there we go, docu, S-I-G, I literally cannot spell. There we go. So there's DocuSign. There's pretty much loads and loads of different connectors you can use in this automation tool. So instead of writing an integration, I can say, cool. Right, so what we're going to do is whenever a form is submitted, we're going to go ahead and, we're going to go ahead and get those response details from the form. So you list the form you're getting the response details from. Here is what you call dynamic content. So it references the row above. And once I've gotten those form details, all I'm going to do is go into SharePoint, select create an item, Epic. And what I do is I just select my list. So obviously we're going to go for party van hire. And the list name is going to be party request. And then the columns in the list are what you populate with the information gotten from that form. Okay. So all this information here, I can simply just select title, email, code, whatever. So I'm just putting in random stuff. Okay, but you can use that using dynamic content. What's also cool is if you want to move data between systems, I can say, cool. So we're going to take that SharePoint data, and then once we've done that, we're going to go into Dynamics. We're going to go and select, not that Dynamics, we're going to select Dynamics 365, and we're going to go and create another record. So I can start moving data between points. Big heads up, this is called Power Automate, not Power Integrate. Okay, Power Automate, business process automation. You're not doing hordes and hordes of data transformation here. If you're doing ETL using this tool, you are doing the wrong thing. Okay, as a heads up. So this is more around moving data between points, interfacing data, giving different systems data that you're not making massive changes to. All right, so that's how easy it is to use Power Automate. So remember, all it's done is somebody's filled in a form. I've used Power Automate to get the responses and populate that SharePoint list. And obviously Power BI lives along the top, kind of giving me all that information in a better way. What about the apps, folks? What happens if I'm the party van driver, much as I'd like to be? I'm the party van driver. I've got my party van app. And in my party van app, I need to have my party van management tools where I can go and manage all the people in Party Van Central. Well, how do I do that, right? Okay, pretty easy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop out into Power Apps. So let's get out of here. Okay. And eventually when it sorts its life out, we're going to go to another environment just for this. First thing first, I'm going to use some AI. So I don't know if you've ever watched one of those British baking shows where, somebody's busy making a cake and they're mixing eggs and all that jazz, and then they put it in the oven, and 2 seconds later, they come back and take it out of the oven. Okay. That's what I'm going to do. So I've already pre-built my AI model. It's called the Drink Recognizer. Name self-explanatory, right? I hope so. Cool. And I'm actually going to use this in an app. So first things first, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create the app. Now, folks, I'll tell you when you can start timing me. So I'm going to take you a bet. I can build this app. My record, and this is not up to me, it's up to the AI. My record is normally about 35 seconds. So when I say go, you're more than welcome to time me, but I'm going to try. Okay, so let's make our first app. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I've got a bunch of SharePoint sites. I'm going to go ahead and select van, party hire over there, and I'm going to go select the list and say connect. And this is going to build the app for me. Oh yeah, that feels pretty good. Right, pretty psyched about this actually. Cool, app's done, ready to run. Don't know how long that was. I reckon that was about 30 seconds. So I'm ready to rock and roll. How long was that, Yoshi? Pre-built does count.
17 seconds ago.
17 seconds, cool. So I've got my app. I can go ahead and actually add some data. So I'm going to call it Z. Sam is being mean. Well, I'm going to go ahead and quickly add some data. And that record that I just captured directly from my app, which could be done via my mobile device or a carrier pigeon, I can actually go back to my list of things and very much, excuse me, very much like you would have captured through another app. Here's my record in the list. pronto, really quick, right? Now, I'm not done because that's the quickest way I can make an app. I can actually build this thing up, but actually I want to do some more cool stuff, right? What do I want to do? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to theme it and give it some stuff. So this is very much like using PowerPoint. In fact, you can see the screens on the left, very PowerPoint-esque. And you've got your expression bar at the top. This is called a canvas app. Looks like PowerPoint and Excel had a love child, right? So what I'm going to do, quickly pop in a new screen, move this little dude up to the top. There we go, right? Going to go and do some theming. So I'm going to add an image. Heaven help what comes up here. Let's put like my drink scanner in here, right? Let's put a picture of a big old beer. There we go. Phenomenal, right? We're going to go ahead and fill that page. Cool. And we're going to go and actually do some other stuff. We'll go and go view. What do I want? Sorry. Home. Theme. Orange. Cool. That theme's my app for me. I don't have to do much work there. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to insert, I do like German beers too. I'm going to go and insert a button that says start me. Cool. And that's going to navigate to, I'm doing this all with no code, by the way. It's pretty exciting. I'm going to navigate ahead to my browse screen over there, right? Cool. So if I run my app, click start me. Oh, amazing. There's my list. Cool, cool, cool. Right. That's fine. Okay. But what happens when somebody buys a beer and I'm too lazy to count the beers? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add another screen. I'm going to go and call it let's go for, I'm going to duplicate this screen so you can kind of copy paste stuff, which is pretty cool. And we're going to call this AI01. Don't use my naming conventions because they're terrible. Done. Going to go ahead and delete this form. Well, bam. So I've got a blank screen over there. Let's get rid of these controls. Don't need any of that noise. Delete that line of scripting over there, or that little expression. Don't need that. Cool. In fact, bugger it. We'll delete the whole thing. Cool. Whoop. This is how you get errors, my friends. There we go. Cool. Blank screen, right? What we're going to do is we're going to go in and add our AI builder control. So this is pre-built. You've got some cool things. If you use business cards, just throwing it out there, I don't think anyone ever does. You just scan people's chips in their hands through COVID. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and object detector. And this is a pre-built model. So it's telling me, hey, you've got an object detector model there. Pop that dude in there. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy the button from the main screen and stick it into this over here. So I'm basically moving controls around, and this is going to say home. And adding some navigation control in there. So settings, whoopsie, settings, gets away from me, action. And we'll put that as screen one, cool. And I'm also going to put in a little signatory control. So if I go to input, there's a little thing called a pen input. This is just going to be a fake little signature that I'm going to let my guests use to sign for their amazing drinks that they buy from me, or puddings, whatever you want to do. And then the last thing I'm going to chuck in there is a thing called a gallery, the most used control in Power Platform. And ultimately, this gives me a list of stuff, right? Pretty awesome. So all I'm going to do is object detectors OD1, very much like using object-oriented programming. And in here, all I'm going to do is say that it's going to be OD1 dots. Oops, this is what you call using expressions. And it's going to be called grouped results. Cool, cool. Okay. We also got to make sure that junk doesn't show up on the screen. So we will change this to only 2 columns. Yep, 2 columns. And we'll make sure the fields that it shows aren't gobbledygook as well. So tag ID will be the object count. Sweet. So what I could do is, as the guy that's running the solution, I could go off to my screen over there, just capture one more button. We're going to call this sell beer. And we're going to actually make that navigate to the AI screen. Sweet. So I'm going to run my app. Would look something like this on the mobile device, just a lot sexier, especially if it's a Samsung. I can go to sell beer. What I can do is then go and detect some stuff, right? So if I had my camera, I'll say, hey, let's take some photos of some beers, right? So let's take a photo of that one there. It's going to run through the processing. So I'm a really lazy guy. I'm just going to kind of check it out. And there we go. We've got 4 beers, no cocktails, no puddings. No problem, right? Cool. Get them to sign off, and off you go, back home. I haven't cleared this stuff yet, so I'm going to go back and just do another one to show you. Let's take a picture of some cake, right? Oh, cocktails. There we go. Some cocktails. Run through the process. 2 cocktails. Cool. We're going to erase that, Normally I'll check Sam for ID at this point, but we're cool now. And yeah, there we go, home again, right? So you can use AI models directly in these solutions really quickly and also capture data really fast as well. So all I've done very quickly, and I'm going to shoot back really fast, is number one, I got some data from a form. You gave me some data from a form. I took that data using Power Automate and I put it inside a data structure called a SharePoint list. Okay, so form, Power Automate, SharePoint list. From there, I connected Power BI and I showed you the analytics of that data. I also then was able to connect Power Apps and show you some of the information inside the app as well based on that data structure. The app respects the data structure. I also plugged in a wee little version of AI Builder to help me manage that data as well, which is kind of cool. You know, I'm infusing AI into data along with automation is literally the best thing in the world. Okay, other than pizza, beer. And finally, all that we did from there was we were able to say, well, we really quickly created a simple business use case in a few minutes just using the Power Platform. So my friends, that is how you supercharge your projects using the Power Platform. Using these pre-built digital bricks, you can create stuff really fast. It gives immediate value, and that's supported both within the Microsoft platform and by the team that you have. Okay, so I hope that all makes sense. I know it was a bit fly by night. I tend to do these things a little bit fast. But yeah, I just want to say thank you very much, everyone, for having me. I hope that was fun. And Yoshi, thank you for organizing this, man. I appreciate it. And thank you for all the comments in the chat. You guys are awesome.
No problem.